Streaming. Let's see. Yes, I'm live. Awesome. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Sudha Jamthe, and this is WeeklyWed at Business School of AI. I love to see my community of learners, and I also love it when I see new faces. And I show up here to host when I have a special guest who has influenced me and my thinking as a technology futurist. And so let me bring Ken on air here. Hi, Ken. How are you
Hi
doing?
there. I'm great.
Good. So usually in WeeklyWed, we have a speaker from around the globe, and we are going to be streaming this live on YouTube, and we share this recording in our newsletter and a couple other places. And the idea is to get to the secret sauce of what's happening real in industry. You take many of my courses, there are a lot of other reading material and stuff that's happening in the Gen AI world. And it's almost like the universe, the world of AI is expanding by the day. And so, how do you find out what is real? How do you pivot your career? How do you go bring this innovation to your jobs? So that's what we gather here. And first, some logistics for those of you who are here on Zoom. Since this is recorded, if you don't want to be, in the recording, then go off camera. And even if you speak up, your voice is going to be on the recording. I have no way of removing it. So, you don't want it to be recorded, do not speak up or come on camera. But you get the privilege of interacting with our speaker here. So feel free to use the chat, and I will make sure that I will field the questions to Ken. Okay. Okay. So today's topic is a very interesting one. We've had many different topics on, generative AI, and people are trying to get to the best practices. But today we have a special guest, Ken Herron, and I'm going to tell you in a minute who is Ken. And the topic itself is about robot food and conversations, and a special evolving standard about conversations. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube, you can actually add a comment to my questions if you want. And I'm going to field the questions and bring it back to Ken also. So I have a question for you. What is robot food? What comes to mind when you hear the word robot food? You can speak up if you're okay to be recorded. Otherwise, you can add your comment in the chat. And we have a tradition where we introduce ourselves in the chat, because this community is about learning from each other. And each one of you is somebody who is, shaping your ecosystem and your companies. So feel free to, say who you are. Oh, you already started doing that. Give your name. If you want, you can give more, but, tell us which country you're coming from. Yeah, what comes to mind when you hear the word robot food? Okay, see some answers here. Yes. No, it's still introductions going on. Anything when you hear robot food, what does robot feed on? What does AI feed on, guys? Okay. Robot food is data, information. Yes, data, I see a lot of data. Yeah. So I guess that is what it is. And our speaker is going to tell us. So let me introduce Ken. Ken has shared a very humble version of a intro, which I'm going to read out. So Ken is the Chief Marketing Officer of Strolid Inc. He's a technology-fueled marketing alchemist. And knowing Ken, every single word here has been added very thoughtfully, and written by a real person, I'm sure. So he's a technology-fueled marketing alchemist with over 35 years of proven leadership, unleashing people's creativity to achieve successful business transformation and growth. Ken increases companies' revenue and market share by using new technologies to develop stronger emotional connections between companies and their shareholders at scale. Global sales services and technology company Strolid unlocks the value of customer conversations to increase sales, enabling businesses and governments to listen to conversations at scale and manage the data for AI. Ken is going to tell us a little bit about Strolid. I do not endorse any particular company or brand, so I'm not going to give more about Strolid, but I'm very, very intrigued about their technology and their business model and their place in this whole evolving ecosystem. The conversation with humans is a unique aspect of generative AI. Compared to traditional AI, all AI, robot food is data. But with conversational AI, it's trained by data, foundation models, and then you build AI solutions and AI products. But that has a human interface. You chat with the chatbot, you prompt your models. Yes, we've been talking about agent AI, so I can see Yash smiling there saying, there's a way to automate things. But there is human touch point in generative AI. So when you're talking about human conversation, here is a company which is coming and setting standards and changing the world. So I want Ken to introduce himself to give a more holistic picture. But I want to share something about how I got to know Ken and how Ken influenced my thinking in my journey, especially the AI side of things. So this whole concept of, if you think of AI, traditional AI, the way I teach it in my courses, yeah, I say, okay, machine learning, computer vision, and NLP. And, we used to bring Alexa and Google Home or do some demos. That is where we were, and the world evolved into conversational AI. But Ken actually got me thinking about social conversations. Every conversation is not about data, though the AI thinks about it as data. Every conversation is your customer telling you something. The customer is happy, unhappy, there are sentiments. The customer is asking for something. The customer engages with you as a business because you're offering some value and they are telling you, signaling you in every conversation. So Ken has been very big on this whole social conversation over more than a decade, I would say, when he introduced me to this concept. And I could not look at NLP and Alexa as just conversations or technology at that point. When I heard that, I said, okay, what's the social element is missing? And how are we thinking of this as customer conversation? I still feel like a computer is talking to me. So he influenced me to actually work on AIX design. I went off to write a book on that and a bunch of courses on this. And I'm still thinking about AIX and how it is changing with Gen AI. And so I'm going to pass it on to Ken, and Ken is back here because he cannot, though his resume says he grows companies and revenues and things like that, he's a big storyteller. So I'm expecting us to have a fun conversation today. And he does not take his place in any company very casually, right? He's out to influence Gen AI and conversations and robot food. So let's find out. Thank you, Ken. And tell us who you are and what are you going to talk to us today?
Thank you, Sudha. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you to your audience for having me. My name's Ken. I work for an automotive company. This is a new industry to me, so I'm very fortunate. I have some mentors and people that are helping me to understand what it really means to be a car guy. We are an automotive services company, point blank, and that context matters here. We're a tech-enabled automotive services company. We sell to dealers all over the US that they trust us to talk to their customers to help them sell more cars. So our history from the automotive industry is that we have a lot of conversations. And we understood, our founder early on understood that the magic is in that conversation. The customer's needs, wants, desires, all of it, expressed and unexpressed. One of the exciting things about sentiment is that it's no longer the words, the tone of voice. It's grandma giving you stink eye because you want that shiny new Corvette. And she's saying, you have 6 children. No, you're not getting a shiny new Corvette. She's not voicing it. It's not the tone of voice. She's not saying a word. but she's given a facial expression that even cheap AI can pick up from the back of the room. So several years ago, our founder realized that, our value is really the conversation, but it's not possible to listen to every single conversation. We do over 150,000 conversations a month. And just so we're on the same ground, a conversation can be a phone call, can be a video call, can also be a text message. So think of all the different ways that we communicate. Often it's human to human. It can now also be human to chatbot. All of those conversations have the potential to be data, but something was missing. This idea from the founder, he brought in a CTO from the industry, Thomas Howe, and they're like, how do we figure this out? Okay, we need a standard. There's got to be a standard out there for conversations. We'll just look it up. I mean, there's PDF as a standard, there's HTTP as a standard, there's all these other standards. We just didn't know what it was. A lot of Google searches, a little bit of research later. There is no standard for conversation. If there's no standard, we can't feed it to AI. We can't use all of these insights, all of this knowing. We can't make that robot food. So where robot food comes from is that if you think of generative AI, specifically with RAG, there's a data source. Well, guess what? There was no standard to transform conversations, all conversations, including sentiment, all languages, all channels, into data that could feed the robots, that could feed AI. So we invented it. An automotive services company, a small automotive services company in Salem, New Hampshire, invented a global standard. Think about that for a minute. You may work for a very small company. All of us have that capability to understand what's missing. Where is there a gap? Whether it's an AI or some other discipline, we created that. A very small team of people with all sorts of smart help created this new standard, pitched this new standard to the global organization, IETF, brought in a lot of smart people to test it and improve upon it. And guess what? It's now going to be the coming standard for conversations.
What is the standard called? What is this standard?
It is called vCon, 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 and that stands for Virtualized Conversations. And part of the reason that I am here today is that yesterday we rolled out to our customers, those auto dealers, those general managers, those owners, those principals that are trying to sell more cars, trying to get cars in people's hands. All of those conversations, we rolled out something we're calling a portal, a Strolid portal with search that for the first time ever gives them full transparency to every conversation we have. They trust us to have with their customers. So you can tap to listen. That's great. That's useful. That's fantastic. But you can also search. So let me give you a specific example. And yes, this is an automotive industry story. But what you're going to be thinking is, well, gee, Ken, couldn't a law firm use this? Couldn't a hospital use this? Couldn't a bakery use this? And of course, the answer is yes, yes, yes.
Before you go into more other industries, I want to stay with the automotive industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I have students who love automotive industry because I go chase self-driving cars for fun. And we have students who have taken my AV courses and stuff. But I want to bring us back to, this whole conversation from, and what you said as it's RAG. And I have a new batch of students from my new Gen AI course, 15 days in Gen AI email course coming in. And we are saying, okay, to understand Gen AI foundation compared with traditional AI, but there are two ways by which you deal with enterprise data. One is you fine tune it, or you use RAG, retrieval augmented generation, which is sold, and everybody is talking about RAG as, hey, you bring your data and the Gen AI is going to take it as an additional source, as if there is no work done in it. And when you do fine tuning, even I teach that and say, hey, this is semi-supervised learning. You bring back supervised learning, and it's very simple. You just create a data set of what you want the Gen AI to consume from your data, which is structured data, which is labeled data. That's where there is a lot of work being done by industry. So what is fascinating, before we get into the specifics of vCon, is here is a company that was dealing with automotive dealers in that ecosystem, brings decades of experience. And when people are talking about Gen AI, they're just, or even AI, like they say, oh, you need to know machine learning, you need to have this kind of degree and stuff. Understanding customer, having your business acumen, understanding their pain point is the superpower in building AI. And this company, obviously, Strolid did not stop at just building it for their customers. So tell us a little bit about how they became an AI company. I mean, I'm
And to
fascinated.
be
They
fair,
work
we're
for
not an AI company. We are
okay,
not a technology company. We may become
okay,
one in the future. We are
okay,
an automotive services company. Our
okay.
product, which is called Sales BDC and Service BDC, great product. If you happen to be an auto dealer and you're listening, call us, please. But we'll take care of you. But put yourself in the shoes of a car dealer. At the end of the month, you have quotas. You have cars you need to sell. A real life example, general managers are wizards at managing car inventory. That is
Yeah,
a big part of their job. So there's this blue Mustang that's sitting on the lot. It's maybe lunchtime on a Friday afternoon, last day of the month. If that Mustang can't be sold by 5 p.m. this afternoon, it has to go to auction tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. So at 8 a.m., it'll be sold off, whatever they can do it. How can I sell that Mustang? In theory, I could listen to every call, look at every text message, every email we've received, and say, okay, who was interested in convertible Mustangs this week, this month, the last 6 months? Now, because those conversations that we have cared for are in vCons, they can now go in and search, okay, it's model number 12345, type in or voice model number 12345, and it will come up and say, these 6 people in the last 72 hours asked for a blue Mustang convertible. Here's the people to go pick up the phone and talk to. Insert human here.
yep.
That these conversations have happened. Our contribution is creating a standard so that these conversations can be fed to AI, and then it's whatever choice of AI. Everyone's talking about OpenAI's, ChatGPT. There are literally dozens of others, probably more every day. It doesn't matter what AI you use. And I should also mention, we're a full transparency company. We work within the auto dealer's CRM. They use different CRMs. So it's that integration to the CRM so that they can see everything, we can see everything, and now it's accessible. We've not just given them transparency, we've made it easy to access. So as they have questions, they can go into search. Today, we onboarded the first dealer yesterday afternoon. They go into search, they see all their data. So now these very smart people, these hardworking people now have better data, better information upon which they can make better decisions.
So essentially, by creating a standard, you have created the ability to search this conversation. So conversation search is opened
Yes.
up. And
Yes.
though you say you're not a technology company, you've created a standard for technology and you're integrating into all kinds of systems. That's what technology companies do. So,
we
I'm
solved
glad.
a specific industry problem that we had. To be more competitive, of course, we want to solve our customers' problems. We want to help our dealers. That is the only reason we exist. We help our dealers to be more productive, to be more efficient, to understand what their customers are saying and how they say it, and to be fair, how their people are working with those customers. Because you can't manage what you can't measure. We give them a better way to measure what's really going on, what's really happening across multiple dealerships. Because some of these dealer groups are just massive in size.
So one of the things that happens in our conversation here is people like my students come from various different countries, industries, different job roles. And so the way adult learners do that is you kind of listen to something and you make a connection to something else in the past. That's kind of a feed for innovation. So as I'm listening to you, I'm going back to my eBay past where I was heading mobile analytics, and the first step to build out analytics is you need a single source of truth and you need data organized,
Yes.
right? So we have
Yes.
departments which take all possible data and then bring it and organize it in some system, make it searchable. I never even stopped to think that it is searchable because they'll run SQL query. And then we are thinking about, okay, what insights can we draw from this? How can we take this to go train an AI? And where's the value? Who's the customer? So everybody goes through that. Any company, when they're creating a roadmap, to get started with AI, the first step is to figure out what the data is, make it searchable into some kind of standard. So everybody who's building chat GPTs or equivalent intelligent chatbots for any kind of department is now able to do this. Do you guys offer this like a the vCon converter of some kind?
We do. We do. We call it a conversational server,
Okay.
conserver, and we are thrilled to be able to offer that to people. And those people may be in the automotive industry, and maybe some of them may be in other industries.
Yeah. So let's take a step back. Tell us a little bit about what is this vCon? What is this standard? Because you said it's a IETF standard that doesn't come, there are so many companies who will make whatever they are building and then get adoption, right? All the different APIs out there, everybody wants to make that their foundation piece, right? But this is gone through rigorous standards process. And you said, especially with GDPR and EOS approved it. So tell us a little bit more. What is vCon?
All right. So tell me if this gets too boring. Conversations are voice calls, video calls, emails, text messages, any form of communication. Good so far? The virtualized conversation, or vCon, is an upcoming IETF International Standard for the storage, the interchange, and the security of conversations. So that means the conversation recordings, the identities, and all the related information and metadata. If it helps, think of a vCon, again, VCON, a vCon, as the PDF for a conversation or the call detail record for a robot, for AI. And yes, they can be signed and they can be encrypted. So you make sure they're tamper-proof. It's a standard file and data format. And then this is the textbook definition, so I get it correct here. It's a standard file and data format that allows independent, open tools to discover, manage, and redact sensitive personal information from recordings. If I'm a big hospital in the UK and I need to understand what's going on, why aren't patients showing up for their appointments? Why aren't they finishing their medications? I can take all the personal information out of that and get some very helpful answers. And as an archival mechanism, vCons enable the safe long-term storage and interchange, and this can be customer conversations. It can be patient, it can be employee, it can be citizen, it can be student. All of this information between different service providers. And of course, a vCon can contain one single voice conversation or every conversation with one or more people on any channel over time.
You said something about how it's encrypted. So I'm just thinking when we have
They can be signed and encrypted, so you know if anyone has touched it. And we work with some brilliant partners like Data Trails that offers SCIT, SCITT, that really makes these powerful things, that it gives any company that cares about conversations, and this is literally every enterprise that's out there, to be able to not just use them. Think of it as the carrot and the stick. The carrot is, ooh, I can unlock. I know what people want. That's gold for a marketer. But the other side is equally important. I can now safeguard this stuff.
Yeah.
That GDPR, California regulations, other countries' regulations, other states' regulations are saying, someone has to have the ability to call up an enterprise, an organization, a government institution, say, hey, remove me and prove it. Oh, and remove me? That means remove me from your AI's training. This is now possible. So this standard enables the management of data for AI.
So I want to pause a minute to just, tell our learners here. Remember, we've been learning about, GDPR and privacy compliance that is required for any technology that you build here. And one of the things for GDPR, and there are multiple other privacy laws that are, similar to GDPR, inspired by GDPR, right? One of them is, yes, you get permission, so you just don't, opt out. You have to opt in. But after a while, after using a product, you can say, I don't want to delete my data. So most of us don't know that in all our standard apps, somewhere buried somewhere is this option to delete my data. And so you can go to Amazon, and every 6 months you can actually delete your data by the time they've used it to go train AI. And these conversations are in there, but it's not in a standard format, right? So you can delete the data only from Amazon, but if it's your customer conversation you're building from a chatbot, it's sitting somewhere. It is, my understanding is it's impossible to go delete those today, right? And not
Before
at a customer
vCons,
level,
physically impossible. Yes.
right? Before
Just
vCon,
can't be done.
right? So if I'm talking to customer service to a company and about a product, and that is conversation. So it's not just when I go to the e-commerce site and show my interest in recommended systems that they will delete because it's stored in a structured way because they're capturing in a custom way. But somehow this conversation is very fluid and unstructured, right? And we just think of it as words. And when we are building language AI, I see a potential with vCon to do a lot more, right? Coming back to GDPR and compliance, it's a risk if you do not delete my conversation in a customer
It's fair to
service
say
or a
that
complaint about it.
enterprises used to be able to say, I can't do this, so I
Yeah.
don't have to do this. Now they can do it, so they have to do it. So while we would love to think everyone's coming to us for the carrot of understanding customers and who they're talking to, we know there's going to be a line out the door for people to say, ugh, I have to be compliant or I'll be shut down. Please help me to start using vCons.
I find this fascinating because I have my students the most recent students are working on some kind of capstone project. We do that with all our courses. And we are thinking of RAG as what's out there, right? Now you're saying you can draw insights from that. Maybe, we'll make a project out of it. So tell me a little bit more about other industries. You said you're an automotive company. You're very sure about it because you don't want to lose focus on the customer, but you've created this standard that everybody who's running to build chatbots did not think about. Even the companies who are building technology tools to build chatbots were not thinking about it. Now they just thought more data, right? So tell us more examples beyond automotive industry. You can tell us more about automotive also, but I want to see the bigger.
The disclaimer, to be fair, I'm a marketing person. So if
That's
I
a
have something to
disclaimer.
sell, I'm going to convince you that you cannot live without this. So as long as we've set that stage, picture. First of all, you're an auto dealer. You have all of these conversations, or if these conversations are had for you by a company like Strolid, who does this for you, all of your leads are sent to us. We have those nice conversations to help sell your cars. Yesterday, you didn't have this ability. Today, literally, you have this ability. Once you understand this, once you discover this, this makes it irreplaceable. This makes it very sticky. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're working for a company thinking, how do I make what we sell sticky? Well, if you provide such value, such insight, such knowing from this conversational data, people will not be able to quit you because you've helped them to move forward their business. So auto dealers, obviously, picture a law firm.
Sorry. So in the auto dealer example, the customer is going to stay on because of the value you created, right? The customer does
Our
not have
customer,
transparency. No,
as a
your
BDC,
yeah.
as a B2B service provider, as an automotive service provider, our customers will stay with us because we now have a differentiated offering. We can now offer something that no one else in the BDC industry can offer.
So it's very good because you are talking about stickiness, and typically in technology industry, when you say something is sticky, we are thinking about engagement, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the tech companies, one of the internal metrics is engagement. Does the customer stay longer in the site? If they come into Facebook, then how many minutes are they spending? And are they coming back again and again? Are they hooked, right? And they call that stickiness. What I'm hearing from you is not just a
Customer retention.
technology. Yeah. I mean, you're really thinking about you're taking responsibility to create value, because of which the customer is going to continue to be loyal and stay with you, which is what any business person should be thinking about, any product manager should be thinking about. So
How do you go ahead?
does the customer have visibility? Do they experience the end product of this value when your customers use vCon, or do they have visibility? Are you giving them like a dashboard?
We're giving them exactly that. The homepage of the
That's
Strolid
beautiful.
portal is this wonderful dashboard with 16 little scorecards that are the most important metrics they use to manage their business on a day-to-day basis. Everything is right there up front. So they don't have to ask for the numbers. They don't have to wait for a report. They don't have to wait for someone to review it. It's literally there at their fingertips. And the numbers are real,
I'm
meaning they're
seeing
live data.
we had done a course on, digital twins using automotive a while back. Um, there are automotive companies who are building microservices from the car
Mm-hmm,
to the
mm-hmm.
cloud for customers. So if dealer is a customer in the automotive ecosystem and you want to know where the cars are at any given time, not just in the inventory, right? From a support, when you later after, post sale support too. And they build microservices. So I'm just seeing the possibilities, right? That all of those, every single interaction of the customer along with the metadata, and you make it searchable.
Let's move from the auto
Yep.
dealers
Yep.
to the auto manufacturers. If you are, pick a brand, Ford, you sell cars. You really, really care about what a buyer of your latest EV thinks about your car. If you had access to all of this data, it would be a game changer. I've kind of used this joke that as someone new to the automotive industry, I have sought out who are the industry experts, who are the people, the analysts, the people who really, really get it. And I've realized very quickly, we have more data because we talk to more customers on an hourly basis than any of these analysts will in a lifetime. So our live feed, our ticker, if you will, is the world's best expert on the automotive industry. So as other companies, other industries will begin to use vCons, they're going to find that they're the smartest people in the room. The inspiration, let me back up a step. The inspiration for all of this was our founder and CEO's father, Vinny, 40 plus years in the automotive business. He is our head of quality assurance. He listens to calls each and every day. He knows so much. It's not because of the AI, it's because of his domain expertise, his experience. So the ability of the AI plus his industry expertise, that's what makes it powerful. So we've jokingly called it Papa in a box because not everyone has a Vinny. Everyone wishes they had a Vinny in their company that could listen to customer call after customer call after customer call every day. They don't. But now, thanks to vCons, our customers can purchase Papa from a box and us. So all of their customer conversations are put into data that the AI can use that they can now freely search on demand. I think you're muted.
Thank you. Everyone in the company who is contributing to the workflow does bring some aspect of this knowledge, right? After working 10 years in a dealership, a dealer would know why the blue Corvette would sell intuitively. Yes. They might not even be able to articulate that and say, call that, call that woman who was here yesterday and was eyeing this car and then went away to buy a different car or went away to look at another car, but didn't make this purchase, right? And our heart is on this. And, when you go work with real people, we were talking about this, when you work with real people, smart salespeople know that. They know when they have the customer, they'd stop selling because after that, we are sold emotionally, right? You just have to give us the product, right? You just have to close the sale and you don't need to give discounting more or, even give us more features and stuff. And no AI can do that today, right? AI can look at the data, draw the insights with the vCon that you're talking about. So everybody out there who has got that business acumen can now create vCons, and still you need a human
Exactly
to look at
that.
the insights, right? You still
We
can
don't replace the human.
Yes.
We make the human better. We enhance the human. We give them these superpowers because you still need, many people use spell checkers, Grammarly. It may say it can write your letter for you or your white paper or whatever it is you're writing. It's so much better. Great that you use a spell checker or a grammar checker, but you need your personality, your humanity, and then you use the tool to help you. So the AI is not going to sell the car. You need the human, you need the dealer to close that sale. And we've seen all the research with, companies that do the direct sales. People want to talk to people. This is a big emotional purchase. There's financing, there's all these other bits involved. But when you give the dealer, their salespeople, their service director, this real information from their customers, they can now do what they do best, which is the human element. So this is the perfect example of AI is not going to take your sales job at a car dealership. The people who are unwilling to use AI as a tool to help them, they're probably going to be the ones that are on the way out.
I'm so glad you mentioned this because as an author and a teacher, I do not believe, I do use Grammarly, but I don't believe the AI can replace writers and any kind of.
It's also not always right. I will
Artistic.
override it. I will
Yes.
be the first to call. It's like, yeah, no, you're wrong. Thank you for trying.
Yep. And so coming back, tell us a little bit. I want to go see whether people have questions. If somebody has a question here, you can add it to the chat or raise your hand if you want to speak up. I just want to go past this auto industry. It looks like there is so much value. And I've seen this in the IoT world, right? That there's so much data sources and they all come in different formats and it's not searchable. You can integrate them to create value. And you're doing that for conversations. And you're doing that for automotive industry. So the good companies would focus on their customer where they have business acumen in one vertical, and then you can scale to multiple verticals. So give me examples past this automotive dealer example in a different industry. Where would I use this?
Sure. I spoke last week with a company, big name company, people would recognize, that are known for running employee opinion surveys. Large companies worldwide will hire them, pay them 7 figures to come in and survey their employees. It was a fun conversation because I got to tell them, I just blew up your business model. Not your business, but your business model.
Yeah.
The idea of having to survey an employee to get their opinion, done, toast. vCons just kicked it off the table. Employees use email to communicate with each other. The company has access to that. Make it vCons. Employees use Slack or some other internal messaging service to communicate with each other. Great, turn it into vCons. Now the company, the chief HR officer, says, I want to know how our return to office is going. They shouldn't need to be told, but okay, that's a question they have there. You don't wait for the annual employee opinion survey anymore. And the cost and the fact that not everyone takes it and people don't always say what they think. I now ask the question, go into search, or not to do a teaser, but GPT will be coming soon. I can now go into natural language search and say, what do our employees think about X, the company cafeteria, return to office, the new compensation plan. And I now instantly have answers that I can male versus female, different geographic locations, different age ranges, different ethnicities or races, that I can now ask these questions as I think of them and get answers based on the real data of what people are really saying to each other on all of my different messaging platforms and all of the different languages that people speak. That is revolutionary. That's very positive, but it's also a little bit disruptive because it's not that the survey was bad. We no longer need those. We have a better mousetrap, a better way to get that information that no longer needs to wait for a survey or for people to even take any action. You're just listening to employees at scale, students at scale, patients at scale. We're speaking with a city in the Middle East. They're really, really focused on energy conservation, specifically electricity and water conservation. People are people. So instead of trying to pester them or bribe them into focus groups to figure out what they want to do, because in some cultures, people will say what they think the focus group leader wants them to say, or what the appropriate right answer is, I can now listen to people and say, oh, this is the real issue. It's not that they want to waste water, it's that there's this, issue going on. If we understand the real problems, we can fix them, we can solve them. So it's a very different way that if you can listen to what people want and need and solve those problems, you're a hero. Whether you're an auto dealer trying to connect someone with the car, their dream car that they've always been fantasizing about, or something that's a little less exciting as filling potholes in Malaysia or saving power in a country in the Middle East.
So when we started out and you said conversations don't have a standard, and that's what vCon is giving, that makes them searchable. So when we do RAG and fine tuning with Gen AI, we can actually, now do that as a vCon, at least for conversation, right? I just realized with your examples that it is not just explicit conversations, right? When I go and say, I want that blue car, can you reduce the price of this? Or can you give me this feature? It's our intent. I mean, it's a marketer's dream, right? That you want to sell a customer something that they want and need. They've not even expressed that. So it's a lot more powerful to draw that insight. What about customer service? Because a lot of chatbots, intelligent chatbots, are used for customer service, right? You obviously for lead gen, but talk to us a little bit about this customer service. All of them have become chatbots. Now I'm chatting and there's tons of data sitting.
How
But
incredibly valuable would it be?
Yeah.
I work for a tech company. I have a chatbot because I can't afford human customer service. The ability to go in and say, because tech companies, and I've worked for many, many of them, they're always sitting there around a table of blisteringly smart people saying, what problem do we fix next? We only have so much time, only have so many developers, only have so much money. Here's all our wonderful, wonderful ideas. What if you could go into the customer service vCons and say, what one problem could we fix would reduce phone calls, or would reduce, better said, you shouldn't care about the phone calls, you should care about customer unhappiness. What's the biggest dissatisfier? Tell me. Okay, fix this issue. 92% of calls last month were about this issue. That's eye-opening. That's game-changing. Because it's not just customer service, there's a problem, fix it, but it's what is the cause of the problem? Because sometimes the problem isn't the problem, it's people's being human is the problem. It also tells me if I'm the salesperson, I also want to ask from all of these customer conversations that have been complaining and angry, where's the revenue opportunity? What can I sell these people next? And it'll tell you. That is amazing. It can feel a little bit like an episode of Black Mirror, but all the technology is there and it works. There was a conversation yesterday afternoon. Again, our search is live now. Our portal is live now. The GPT is still in development, But they said, well, can we do this? And the person we were speaking to gave us a question. We put in the question and kind of, the shock in the room, it works. It works exactly as it was supposed to work. That the conversations were saved as vCons and they were able to be accessed.
I actually promised our students that we'll have an announcement today, and we have about 10 minutes. I want to do an exercise with the group that's here, but I promised the announcement, so let me do that because people will drop off exactly at 9, exactly at 10 my time, and different times in the world. So we have this 15 days Gen AI course on email that is going on, that is open and only till July 16th. And then I am going to close it. We are not going to offer that course. It's not going to have an extension. I know some of you asked for it. But what I am going to do is that Monday on the 15th, I'm going to do a Gen AI workshop, because this is an email course. Everybody's getting one email per day and learning about different aspects of the different topics and how to build products and enterprise in the enterprise using Gen AI, right? So RAG and fine tuning and agent AI are all like a topic each day, and there's a capstone project. So on Monday the 15th, as some of you requested, I'm going to do a live workshop on Gen AI, actually to build a chatbot. And that's what my promise is. I'm going to do a workshop to live build a chatbot with you, 9 o'clock, the same time we started today on Wednesday. We're going to do that on Monday. And I'm going to, show you that. And what I'm tempted now, why I'm making this a bigger deal, is I am going to figure out how to access vCon and see whether we can get a chatbot to, the conversations to become a vCon. And I'll talk to you offline, Ken, and hopefully.
And to be fair, that is what we sell. That is how we make our money.
Yes.
Happy to sell. My boss would be very happy for you to purchase a conserver. I realize there may or may not be budget for that at this point, but we expect this to be ubiquitous. We expect to see many. We made it open source. I probably should have started with that.
Yes.
So we expect to see many, many people in the marketplace as people understand the capabilities and what this can do.
So thank you for clarifying that, because I do believe, I'm not asking you to just give away your life's work or, your company to give away everything. But I'm just saying, I'm going to do a workshop to teach, to build intelligent chatbots hands-on, 9 o'clock on Monday. That's my announcement.
Fantastic.
I'm going to figure out how to take our conversations and make it into vCon. And vCon is an open source, right? It's not just giving the tools to make an easy conversion, but it's available in open source. And so I believe this is going to be bigger than just, one company or one chatbot. And so I'm going to teach you guys how to take the chatbot conversation of the chatbot that we're going to build and convert it into a vCon, so that we can do some search and go through the promise of all the insights that you're telling us. So, and we'll follow up. For those of you who are already on the list, we'll follow up and share how to get to access to this workshop and the remainder of the course and stuff by our usual newsletters. Okay. So I want to come back to this exercise I said I want to do, because I get very excited when I see my students here from various different worlds. So I see a student who's from Barcelona Technology School. I see somebody from my Stanford class. I see a lot of new faces. So I want to call people here, and anyone can volunteer. Tell me what industry you work on. From what you have heard today, we've talked about how vCon creates a structure for conversations. And Ken has been conversation, could be a voice call, could be chatbots, chats, anything else. I'm just going to stick with chats, right? Because we are talking about Gen AI, I'm building chatbots. Or you could actually take any of your customer conversation that is sitting in your company. If you're aware of that, that's okay. I'm not going to limit you. I'm just saying the easiest thing is to think about the chatbot. So I want to call on any of you out here. Tell us about what industry you work on. What do you think from what you're hearing? If the customer conversation can be put in some structure like vCon, that it becomes searchable, and now you can draw insight from it and do something. I always say, when you build your capstone, start with a customer problem, and then you figure out why is it a problem and who is it impacting, how can you solve it, and then go to the AI. If AI is the right answer, it might not be AI. You might have simple heuristics that solves the problem too. So calling on people who are already here in the Zoom room, tell us, what industry you operate in, and then I'm going to turn to Ken to tell us how to create value. Right? You don't have to come up with a whole solution, everything. Just tell us what industry, what kind of data that you have that is customer conversation from your experience. And I see some student who has built project, right? Who has built a capstone project. That's okay if it was a capstone. You don't have to talk about your real company. Does anybody want to volunteer and say what industry you're working in, what kind of customer data you believe you have? And then we can put Ken to the test. This is a quiz. We do quiz differently.
Hey, this is fun.
We didn't tell Ken the quiz is not with the students, but with our speaker. So who wants to volunteer and tell me about some industry you're working on, and what customer data do you have? Let me see who is here in the room. Any volunteers? And I don't know if you want to speak up, that's great. If you don't want to, you can put it in the chat and I can ask Ken.
I have a question.
Yes.
This data deletion was related to GDPR.
Yeah.
And is it some way related to machine unlearning? Is that taken care of in the IETF standard, where they try to remove the unlearning also from not just the data?
Yes, there's full accountability. So if I'm using conversation, let's say your conversation, you had a conversation with your insurance company, and that insurance company used your conversation to train their AI. Because that conversation is in a vCon standardized format, it can be extracted from the AI, and they can fully validate that that has been done. So you have been removed from the AI.
Thank you. And this is really required for many of the industries, because data is what is at the core, and customers will be either consenting for their identity or not consenting. So
And I would add a third: customers can
I
change
will-
their minds.
Yes.
You
So
can
I'll
consent
read
on
more about-
Monday, and then by Tuesday decide I'm not going to consent anymore.
Yeah, I'll read more about this standard and maybe write a paper on how it can be used for the unlearning task. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Sudha, for bringing Ken.
No problem. Thank you, Yash. So I actually added the paper for vCon that Ken shared with me right here in the chat, and we'll make sure we'll put it in the follow-up for WeeklyWed also. Ken, I want to actually add an industry. Automotive is my favorite one, so that's taken. Let me see. What if I'm talking to a retailer? What if I go to a store? Because you said that it's not just conversations, voice, all formats, right? I remember, there are some, like if I go to Target in here, they actually track by using IoT where I am, right? So there's a lot of it. And then if I interact with people, there are cameras watching. I know, I remember David Kerrigan coming to one of our class. We have speakers who come into our classes. You have spoken to my class too. So he was talking about how for privacy reason, they don't watch the face of the person, but they watch the shoes of the person. And then they draw insights on the age and demographics to kind of sell them stuff. So give me an example for a retailer out there who has got all these conversations, and they might not even think of them as conversation. They are customer touch points, customer data, but it's unstructured in various form. Can somebody just bring it all and say, okay, now we have all this, and can we get it into a vCon?
For a conversation to take place, there has to be communication. So videos of people's shoes wouldn't pass the test for, is that a conversation? Is that not a conversation? But let's say you're shopping with Target online and you're using a chatbot. You're trying to find a pair of shoes and you're going through the shopping process. And maybe it's late at night and it's just infotainment. You're not seriously shopping for shoes, but you're just kind of looking around, seeing what's going on. Well, Target can look at that and all of the millions of other people who were, online that night and what they were looking for. And maybe they realize, for whatever reason, on Tuesday nights at 9:00, people are having, their adult cocktail at that hour, and they really want fancy dress shoes. For some reason, that's what they're using for entertainment. People like to look at fancy dress shoes on Tuesday night.
That's what I do. A Tuesday night.
With
Yeah.
that insight, they can now deliver and serve up to you that the next time you go on a Tuesday night, they can say, ooh, may we show you the latest new fancy dress shoes? And guess what? They may be an elevated price point because this is fantasy shopping. But if they sell 1 out of 10, it's like, that is insane. I've never thought I'd pay $300 for a pair of fancy dress shoes at Target. These are incredible. There you go.
So it comes to a customer touch point, right? Essentially,
there needs to be communication. There needs to be a conversation. So whenever there's conversation, we can take it and grab it and turn it into a vCon.
So it could be chatbots. It could be some kind of engagement with the company, like customer service. It could
WhatsApp, SMS, Kakao, Line, all of the messaging channels as we think of. Video calls, video support. This, for example, is a conversation with all the individuals in it.
Yeah. You mentioned something about NLP, that you didn't use the word NLP, but you said survey that companies do. And I worked in large companies. They do NLP as, to understand the sentiment and trust of customers. Very important factor. Only when a customer is happy, they actually go and tell their friends. And an unhappy customer will surely tell their friends, right? So I remember in e-commerce, there's a metric called silent sufferers. So we used to actually look at our analytics data to figure out which customers are unhappy. They did not get the support they expected from customer support, and they are unhappy. They're not going to come back to us.
Let me go back to automotive for a moment.
Yes.
Someone's doing a price negotiation, and the customer is not happy. They want a cheaper price. Because this is captured, vCons take less than 60 seconds to capture. In the future, and this is in the roadmap, again, another spoiler, teaser here, you can do a notification. So if I'm the sales manager, if I'm the head of the department, and one of my people, a salesperson, is talking to a customer, and the customer's not being happy, I can now get a message on my phone saying, Ken is talking to Sudha. Suda's about to strangle Ken. Maybe you should walk over and intervene. That this can happen while the conversation is still active, still live, still in process. So it's not after the fact, here's how Ken ruined a sale. In the middle of the conversation, the temperature is rising. Walk over and see what you can do to de-escalate and save the sale.
And it's a lot more subtle, right? Because typically in when you buy a car, we would go to test drive with one dealer. We shortlist because internet gives us all kinds of information. And we would go and test drive a car. And somebody in the dealership would want us to buy that car at that moment. But we'll go to few more dealership because they might give us a price. They might not have the color we want. The cars that I've bought are from dealers who said they knew exactly what I wanted and they gained my trust, and then they would bring that car from a different dealership. So I remember going to a couple different dealers and then test driving my car, and then I go back to that dealer who I felt most comfortable with. I didn't go to the dealer who had the car color and the features, because not just of the price but trust factor, right? And then I would go back to this dealer and say, I'm not buying this from you. I'm not going to come back and tell them, right? That's where the conversation comes in, because they know I was here Tuesday. On Friday, when they want to close the sale, I might go to that other dealer. And I might have other factors, right? I might be living in a neighborhood and they're like 50 miles away, and it's harder for me. Why would I drive my new car and put in miles there? And I might have had that conversation saying, I wish you could get me this car. I wish you had this yellow car because I have to drive 50 miles for the other dealership, right? And that would be buried in the conversation. So that's beautiful. So I can see any customer touch point. Coming back to Gen AI, Gen AI is about customers driving the conversation, getting the brands to work for you, and not just brands in a workplace conversation you were talking about. Could this be within legal limits? Could this be used by HR in companies to check for compliance issues, just diversity issues, to check
process compliance, all the things that a large company, diversity, equity, inclusion, people who are violating something as simple. There's a hospital. the people who work in the hospital are not supposed to smoke on the premise. So anyone saying, hey, you want to go take a smoke break, now that can be understood, and supervisor can be notified, hey, just a heads up, I know you're a smoker, but you really can't be smoking at work. How can we help you with this?
And there's a lot of, I remember one of my students who successfully moved to AI after my class was working on compliance in a bank. And her entire job was looking at the data. I'm actually going to go back and see whether I can bring that student to, update them to see whether they could use vCons. But they were actually looking at conversations. Also, is this literally customer touch points? Could this be conversation happening in social media outside?
Think of it this way. In terms of who can benefit, it's any entity, company, organization, school, any entity that records conversations, sweet spot, any entity who is subject to any type of data regulation. Again, customer, patient, employee, student, what have you. And it can be any data regulation. Any entity that needs to share customer data with other entities. And finally, any entity that uses customer conversations for AI, for machine learning, because it gives you this incredible control.
So when it comes to compliance, HR, of course, in any company, or I'm thinking education, we have a lot more going on. There's like attempts to build chatbots, and can I make a TA that will talk to the students? But as when I teach in a large university like Stanford, there's a compliance requirement that I sign up for the safety of the students. So I can see that education could use that. Retailers, we spoke about automotive. Obviously, we love automotive, and it's a wonderful use case.
It's not an overstatement to say just about any organization has conversations.
Yeah.
Internal and external. All of those conversations, and it may be a couple of years, maybe a little longer, they're all going to be in vCons, because the second they are in vCons, they become robot food, which is where we started.
Okay, so before we close out, I know we've gone 5 minutes past our hour. We started out before we turned on the live stream talking about, robots attending meetings. And that's an intriguing topic. Maybe I'll write a blog post on that. But I've been thinking about, as a teacher, I'm, talking to students, or we are in meetings and we're talking to real people. That's where the fun conversation happens, right? And as humans, we track the nuances, even the silence of people, right? So is this so the question—
Grandma's stink eye in the car dealership.
That is
Think
the
of
question.
that as the reference point. It says so much.
So that you're saying, but grandma is real grandma, right? Grandma is not a bot. So is this conversation only human conversations that you're capturing, or can there be an AI to a human, AI to an AI, or
human to human, human to AI, AI to AI, because it's a conversation.
So
if you have my chatbot scheduling a meeting with your chatbot, that's a conversation.
Yes. Yep. So yeah, I used to have a chatbot called Amy who did the scheduling of my meetings. So there could be so that opens it up. So when you have output from AI, one of the challenges companies have is AI is giving recommendation, AI is interacting with the customer. That is not actually captured, because the AI conversation—
Traditionally, no conversations are captured. They're recorded, but they're not captured in a way that can then be easily accessed. A dealer yesterday gave us the example. Today, Ken, I can listen to all of the conversations. I don't have time to listen to all the conversations. What you're doing allows me to get the benefit of listening, pop in the box, the benefit of all those conversations without having to listen to every conversation.
This is beautiful. So vCon is a standard for conversation. Conversation is a customer touch point, not just, watching.
As long as there's some language being shared,
So anything with language. And now you've expanded it. I see the possibilities that it is not just, customer service chat, any kind of compliance in companies, fintech, HR, education, but also now, when you say it's AI conversation with a human, it could be any kind of output from an AI to a human, and human says, that's not what I'm looking for. And, there are all these chats where the AI annoys us because it doesn't get what we want and it's
Yes.
lost. And there's a whole department I know of people who are trying to catch this, false positive, false negative of where the AI is giving them wrong information and upset the customer, but they don't know that it's just upset the customers because the customer has, we all do that, right? When we try to get a call in, it doesn't understand what we're saying and kind of, I don't understand, or it tells you something else. So that is where money is left at the table because that customer is unhappy, customer is going to go away to competition. And so conversation by recommender engines, recommender systems, and Yash would love this because that's also her area of work, engaging with customers. And now the customer says, I don't want to give a bad word on air here, but we do say things to AI which doesn't understand us. Now we could capture all that. It's beautiful, awesome, Ken. I love this, and I'm very happy. So I'm seeing some comments. People are saying a session was informative and stimulating, interesting topic. Should be part of LangChain or an LLM. To convert unstructured conversation. Exactly, Ravi, that's exactly the idea. When Ken started and said, it's RAG, all this conversation becomes data for your
Usable.
RAG. Yes, and now you make it usable instead of just, when you're doing LangChain, you're essentially doing RAG. And now you get structured data. That's the robot food we were talking about. Take all your conversations and go, train your LangChain and make your LLM smarter. So awesome, guys. With that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much, Ken, for this fun conversation. I always, do a prep with you, but I don't know where it is going to go. And I'm very, very excited. And to all the new students who are joining us, I will see you online at the new workshop. I promise Ranin will follow up with an email on this. But we will share this recording plus the link for this paper that I promised. And talk to us. Tell us how you're going to use this. And those of you who are working on a capstone project with a new course, I want you to think about this conversation, how to take the conversation, add structure to using vCon, and what can we do with it? How can we uncover value with it? We'll continue that conversation. Thank you, everybody. And I will see you back online at the next WeeklyWed. And Yash will be back to hosting it. So I get to, chill and ask more questions out here in the chat. Thank you so much, Ken. Good luck.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks. Bye. I'm going to stop the recording, guys. And those on YouTube, I'm going to bring your answers for you, but I'm not going to be posting there anymore, okay? At least I'm not going to post the answers.